Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Tuesday, June the 30th. It is the last trading day of the month. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. Markets end up having a nice bounce yesterday. Ended up dropping right off the bat, filling its gap, and then bouncing back towards the top of the range. So the spine cues, at least the cues in itself, still technically inside of this range spy. We are trying to break back above. So some of the tech names along with the Meg 7 are leading the markets higher. Some of the memory and semiconductors are lagging behind just a little bit the past week, more so in specific after the MU earnings that we had, which was fairly important last week. And yeah, with that being said, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Wasn't able to make it to the pre-market prep yesterday, but we're back to the normal schedule today. What's up, everyone? Good morning, J-Tan, Kelvin. Good morning, Andy, Cody, Knight, Lamit, Z Norris. Good morning, Kevin, Petro, Martin, Cinna, Robert, Ryan, Francisco. Good morning, Juan. What's up, everyone? Chris, Andrea, Alejandro. What's up, Bobby, Hector, Ashley, Belvin, Merch, Julius. Yeah, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Let me pull up the economic calendar here, and then we will get started. Okay, so for the economic calendar, coming into today, we do have consumer confidence that's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, along with the JOLTS opening as well. That's also going to be at 10 a.m. Tomorrow, we have some more red folder and orange folder news. Sorry, we have the ADP non-farm enrollment change. That's going to be at 8:15. And then we have Fed Chair Warsh speaking. That is going to be at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is going to be fairly important. And then, of course, 10 a.m., we have the ISM manufacturing. That's going to be at around roughly 30 minutes after the market opens. And then on Thursday, we do have the average hourly earnings month over month, along with the non-farm enrollment change, and then the unemployment rate, and of course, the unemployment claims. And then on Friday, we do have a market holiday for Independence Day. So the markets are going to be closed on Friday. And then, of course, for all the Canadians, we have Canada Day that is going to be on the 1st. So with that being said, there's a couple of things to keep an eye out for today. That's going to be 30 minutes after the market opens. With that being said, let's now hop onto the higher time frames on the SPY and Qs, and let's kind of talk about what we're expecting, at least coming to this week and moving forward. So first things first, let's turn on some of the moving averages that we have, and let's talk about the SPY here on the daily chart. So as you can see for the SPY chart, key levels that we have marked out 760, along with this area, which is our 730. As you can see for SPY on Friday, we end up having this massive wick. I wouldn't count this as a real wick here on the SPY. If we're looking at the ES, you can see price actually never came back down into this double bottom. It was more just so kind of a settlement candle. If you look at the SPX, you can see we never came back down into this double bottom here as well. So if we look at the SPY, technically we don't have to count this as a double bottom since it wasn't a real candle. But regardless, here for the SPY, key levels that we have marked out 730, price ended up coming down using this level. And now you can see we're bouncing off this level right here. And we do have this daily gap that we created last week. So for the SPY moving forward, you can see right now we're just more so consolidating. We're right around the 9 and 21. If we look at the past really 20 to 40 sessions here on the daily chart as well, we are more so in consolidation just on the daily time frame. If we go on to the hourly chart, the key levels that we're going to have marked out here now is going to be, of course, the area that we broke down from. And then now we're going to mark out that full gap fill here as well, which is that 744. So yesterday We end up rejecting off this area coming to market open, filling the gap back towards the downside, and then we end up rallying. And now you can see we're above our 738. And the next major level is, of course, going to be this full gap fill, which is our 744. So coming into today here for the SPY, what we're going to keep an eye out on is this 744. As I mentioned, there's been a lot more bounces, rejections, and mean reversions. We can keep an eye on a potential rejection off the 744 for a push back down in towards that 740. If we want to see some longs, there's a couple scenarios that we can be looking for. Let's zoom in just a little bit more. And let's also mark out these key levels as well. So we can mark out this. Let's change the color to this here as well, to orange, or sorry, to yellow. And the key levels coming to market open here today is really going to be this 744, that full gap fill, along with the area that we broke out from yesterday, which is our 740. If you want to see some upside, I like to see it above our 744 hold for a continuation towards the upside, or now I like to see a potential retracement back down in towards that 740, a hold above this level for a push back towards the upside. So these are the two long scenarios coming into market open here for the SPY. We also do have a potential pop and fade back down in towards that 740 that is also in play here as well. Let's talk about the QQQ on the daily chart here as well. Similar thesis, we're more so just kind of consolidating. I'd say the SPY is a little bit more bullish the past week or so, just because we had MU earnings last week, and now you can see a lot of some of the Mag 7 names have rebounded more so in the past week, right? We have like Apple, right? Google's bouncing off a key level support. Microsoft, we had that sweep of the lows. You can see a nice bounce. Now it seems like that first pop is being shorted, but you can see some names are popping here, at least yesterday, right? Meta, Amazon, even now Tesla, and ended up having an 8% day as well. So for the Qs coming into today, the key levels that we have marked out, right? If we're looking at this from a higher time frame perspective, the last 20 to 40 sessions, you can see this is also slowing down as well, kind of right around the 9 and 21. And we're more so consolidating. What would I like to see for the markets to flip back bullish? Number one, we'd at least have to get back above that 730 and create a higher low here on the daily chart for a push back up and towards that daily gap. Now, really the next scenario is just going to be a break above that 750 for, of course, continuation back towards the upside. Key levels that we have coming into today, what do we have marked out? We're going to have marked out the previous day highs, which as you can see, we have multiple touches here, which is that 724. And then really what other levels we can have marked out is this 726. So we can actually kind of refine this. So I'm going to mark this out all the way up into that 728, and then we can also mark out that previous day highs here as well. So we kind of have two key levels coming to market open, which are fairly close to one another. So for the Qs coming to market open here today, if we do want to see some longs, I'd like to see it above our 728 for a continuation towards the upside, or the hold of our previous day highs for a pushback towards the upside here as well. So this is what we have for the Qs, preferably on the hourly time frame, right? I would like to see a hold above the 724 and break outside of this range and hold for a potential move up in towards that gap fill that we have created, which is all the way up in towards that 736. There is a possibility where we could just reject right off this area, which is the high that we created from last week, right? We could see a rejection and a reversal right back down in towards the middle of the range with, of course, the SPY, right, rejecting right off that 740. If SPY rejects off that 740, Qs rejects off key levels, then we're just going to see a mean reversion right back towards the downside. So those are the levels that we have for the Qs. The game plan as of late has primarily just been waiting for the reaction that we have off key levels. We're not trying to predict where price is trying to head, right? We're just waiting for the reaction that we have off key levels. Since the higher time frame isn't as clear, we want to be a little bit more patient and just wait to see what the market gives us. Let's take a look at the SMH here on the daily time frame. This one is still, of course, bullish, creating higher lows on the daily. This one is now pulling back deeper into, of course, the 21 EMA, and we're having a little bit of a deeper retracement, kind of overshooting our retest levels. So normally we just like to see, for the strongest momentum, the hold of the previous level of resistance to turn into support. But now we're getting a little bit of an overshoot. We're kind of breaking underneath, holding, similar thing, breaking underneath, reclaiming, and then pushing back towards the upside. We're of course still bullish structure wise, but we're talking about the location, right? Digging a little bit deeper down into that 9 and of course that 21. If you look at the SMH yesterday, you can see kind of swept underneath these lows, undercut, and now you can see reclaim, and we're trying to push back towards the upside. If you look at the hourly time frame, you can see yesterday we end up breaking underneath a key level of support. We end up having a nice trade towards the downside, only to be bought up on the hourly time frame, and then of course on the daily candle, we're so far defending this 610. So you end up sweeping underneath, reclaiming, and now you can see we're pushing back towards the upside. Key levels that we have coming into today for the SMH is our 640. So this is the area that we kind of broke down from. This is also your high that we created with the MU earnings last week. If we do want to see some upside, we like to see it above our 640 for any sort of continuation back up and towards that 650. There is a very much possibility we could see a potential rejection here off that 640. So be a little bit more cautious for a move back down in towards that previous day close. And of course, if we do see a little bit weaker price action, we can see a move back down in towards that 620 here on the higher time frame. So this is what I have today coming into market open here on the major indices. A lot of them are still more so consolidating on the higher time frames. If we can break above key levels, potentially you can start flipping back bullish. But at least for now, Q's back up and towards the top of the range. And of course, for the SPY, we are filling this daily gap here as well. That being said, let's go on to a few more indices. I'll head on to the futures charts here in a second, and then we'll head on to some tech names. As for IWM, the structure is still intact for a move higher. Right, the IWM daily chart is still in a very much clear uptrend. Right now, we're more so consolidating. Key levels that we have marked out is that 298. We can also mark out our all-time highs here as well, which is our 300. If we want to see some upside, so far we have been consolidating in the past week above our all-time highs, hold above that level for, of course, continuation, or now the hold of this 298 for this pushback towards upside here as well. Let's go on to the futures. So for the futures charts here for the NQ, if we go into the daily chart, you can see we're just kind of holding this previous double bottom. That's a key level of support. Buyers are stepping in off that 29,200. What I like to see here today is the reaction that we have really off this 30,000. This is a very key level here for the QQQ, or sorry, the NQ. If we can maintain above this, we can see a push up in towards our, now it's going to be this high from last week and a potential continuation back towards the upside. If we break underneath, as I mentioned, we can see a flip back towards the lows. For the ES, key level is basically right at that gap fill on the daily time frame plus our previous day highs. If we want to see continuation above our previous day highs, hold. If we get back underneath, flip, then we could see a mean reversion back towards the downside. All right, with that being said, let's go on to some tech names that we have coming into today. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers you guys would like me to go over, you guys can also drop them in the chat here as well. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. All right, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's take a look at some of the tech names that we have. Starting off with Tesla here, this one is more so just ranging. If you're looking at this one on the weekly time frame, we're actually bouncing nicely right off this 380. You can see this is a very key technical level. The daily chart had an overshoot But now you can see we're reclaiming back above. Higher time frame structure still holding as well on the weekly chart. Daily chart, we actually are technically still building a higher low based off of the yearly low that we have on Tesla. You can see we kind of overshot this 380, but now once we're reclaiming back above, you can see nice continuation towards the upside. So for Tesla yesterday, we end up reclaiming this 380 level nicely. And we had a pretty big move, right back up and towards the top of the range. So the range that we had marked out really was this 380 to this 412. You can see we were just primarily ranging in between this high and low. Last week, we kind of broke underneath the range. And then coming to this week, once we reclaim back above that 380, nice continuation back up and towards the top of the range here, which is that 412. So coming into today and moving forward, 412 is of course that key level. If we do want to see some upside now, we are at the top of the range. So most likely we're going to have to wait for some sort of higher low to form, or we'd have to wait for the break outside the top of the range for continuation towards the upside. So for something like Tesla coming into today, we can keep an eye out on a couple of key levels. Number one scenario would be the break above our previous day highs and a break outside this range for continuation. If you also do want to see upside, we can mark out the down close candle. The next level I have is 394, which is a lot farther away. So we can mark out intraday levels, which is this down close candle here. And we could be looking for the potential bounce for a move back up in towards our previous day highs here, of course. So for Tesla, that's what we have coming to today. Other levels, we can kind of just mark out that intraday one as I mentioned. You can mark out this one if you'd like as well, which is that 400. That kind of lines up with, of course, that down close candle. So for Tesla, potential pullback longs today off that 402 for a push back up in towards that 414. That's what we have. I'd say we're just more ranging than anything. A short scenario could be in play. The risk would be a break above that 412. So maybe a potential pop and fade is in play here on Tesla. I'll be a little bit more cautious of this, but we've rejected from this level so many times, right? Another possible rejection here yesterday and in the pre-market as well. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. NVDA, this one has been a little bit weaker. And of course, with some of the semis now pulling back as well, NVIDIA is definitely a lot weaker compared to all the rest of the tech names. As for NVIDIA on the daily chart, you can see rejected off this 210 last week, flipping back underneath the EMAs here as well. So this one's a lot weaker compared to everything. If we're looking at this one on the daily chart, pretty weak. If we go into the hourly time frame, key levels that we can have marked out now is just going to be our previous day lows, and we have other levels marked out here as well. So for NVIDIA, key levels, and what I have today is going to be our 196, which happens to be our previous day highs. We have our previous day lows marked out. Let's actually do this. We have our previous day lows marked out here as well. And then we have the area that we broke down from, which is our 200 key psych. So for NVIDIA coming to market open, if we want to see some upside, maintain above our previous day highs, potential room up in towards that 200. If we overshoot, which we have done in the pre-market, and we break back underneath, we can be looking for the flip for a pushback down in towards this 192 here on the higher time frame. So that's what I have for NVIDIA coming into market open here today. This one is a lot weaker, so we're just going to keep an eye out on the reaction that we have off key levels. I don't really see any sort of higher time frame thesis that is forming. Maybe a reclaim setup, kind of similar to Tesla, a reclaim potential shoot back up in towards this 200, and then maybe this daily gap fill if we can get a strong reclaim today above our previous day highs. As for AMD, this one, of course, is a ticker that's been consolidating the past couple of weeks, but the higher time frame structure is very much still intact. Location is, of course, great as well, closer to that all-time highs. For AMD, you can see prices trying to defend this 9 and this 21 EMA. Yesterday, we broke outside of the range, only to be bought up. So we broke underneath undercut, and now you can see we're reclaiming and we're pushing back towards the upside. So for whenever we're inside of a range, the undercut reclaim is a great potential trading opportunity. Same thing as a pop and fade that we have in the markets. A lot of it has been more so fake outs. So if you've been trying to go for continuation trades the past week, it's been a little bit more difficult because the market in itself is just kind of ranging. So we have to be a little bit more cautious if we're looking for a potential continuation trade. And we do have to keep in mind that there could be a reversal. And there's been a lot of reversals at key areas. So for AMD coming into market open here today, key levels that I have marked out is really the top of the range, 552, along with some other levels that are more so inside the middle of the range. But as for AMD today, key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be this 540. What I like to see coming into today is a break above our 540 hold for a potential move up in towards our all-time highs and above. Another possible scenario is going to be a pullback long down in towards our 532 for a pushback towards the upside here as well. Only way I'm interested in shorts for today, potential like previous day high rejection for a move back down in towards that 532, but for something like an AMD, it's going to be very hard to short. I'm not interested in shorting any names like AMD unless there's some sort of relative weakness on the higher time frames, which of course in this case we are very bullish. Apple, let's take a look at this one. We ended up having a drop last week, down 5%, and we end up continuing lower. We are now underneath our key technical level here as well. We can just mark out this level. This is one of the levels that we can have marked out. Everything else on Apple is not going to matter as much. We have our 285 here. So if we can get above our 285, we can see a flip back towards the upside. If we reject off our 285, we can see a move back down in towards that 280 and below. So for Apple, we end up rejecting here last Thursday, and then you can see yesterday popped up into that level, and we're having a little bit of rejection here as well, right off that 285. So you can see we can just have this level marked out. Yesterday, we end up having a nice pop and faded now back towards the downside. Key levels that we have marked out here is going to be that 280, a break back underneath that 280. We can see a push down in towards that 276. If we bounce, we can see a little bit of a mean reversion. Don't expect like a complete V-shaped recovery, but potential 280 bounce for a move back up in towards that 284 on Apple. This one is now a little bit weaker, along with a couple of the Mag 7s. We had a mini bounce yesterday, but some of the Mag 7 names are still a little bit more weak on the higher time frames. As for Google, another one that's right at our key technical level 350. This one is now kind of overshooting the daily break and retest, but on the weekly time frame, we're holding this level fairly nicely. This is a good area of interest as well, along with Apple and the rest of the tickers for long term, right? Roughly a 50% retracement down in towards that 61.8. These ones are in good spots if you're interested in looking for a potential dip add. Microsoft, similar thing, right at a key technical level on the monthly chart. A lot of these ones are in really good spots, risk reward ratio wise. So for Google, this one, nice bounce. If we can reclaim back above, we can see this a mean reversion back towards the upside. What we don't want to see is a rejection right off that 350. We did reject off here last week. So there is a potential another rejection and play off that 350. In this case, pretty big buyers are stepping in. Let's see if we can get that reclaim back above for a move up and towards that 360. Microsoft here, this one, as I talked about, if you're looking at this one on the weekly, we're expecting Microsoft to come back down once we flip back underneath after this pretty big rejection. Now for Microsoft, what I would like to see is this kind of double, like not so more so a V-shaped recovery, but I want to see buyers step in and reverse back up and towards 400 at a minimum. So for Microsoft here on the daily chart, you can see we end up having some nice buyers that stepped in right off this double bottom that we created here on the year. Now, if we can get back above that 380, we can see a potential flip back up in towards that 400. Right now, it seems like we're having a little bit of rejection off this 380. We could see another retest of this 350 here on the higher time frames. If you go on to the Hourly chart, key levels that we can have marked out. Let's mark out this previous day high level. And then we can also mark out a couple other levels here as well, which is the area that we broke down from, which happens to be that 368. So for Microsoft here on the hourly, you can see the structure on the hourly is bearish. It's holding underneath key technical levels. If we can now break back underneath that 370, we can see a flip back down in towards that 360 on the higher time frames. If we can base here and potentially form a higher low, we could see a push back up and towards that 380, right? Potentially build a higher low here on the hourly time frame. So for Microsoft, just keep an eye on the reaction that we have off this 370. You can see multiple touches, previous day highs here as well. Very key technical level, break underneath, continuation lower. The hold, we can see a move back up and towards that 370 and above. As for Meta, this one more so at the bottom of the range here as well. Not too much to talk about on this. Nice push up yesterday. But key levels that we have marked out is this 556. If we can hold the 556, we can push back towards the upside. The break underneath, we can see a flip for a move back down in towards that 550. As for Amazon, key levels that we have today here as well is our 250. Nice pop yesterday, and we ended up fading back towards the downside. Daily chart is still technically leaning bearish. We end up having a nice flip, but ultimately we kind of rejected off key areas, and now we're back really in between its previous day's range. Key levels that we can have marked out is going to be that 238, which is really the area that we broke out from yesterday as well. Netflix still weak. SpaceX, nice buyers are stepping in right off this IPO low, which is nice to see. Key levels that we have marked out is our 150. Other levels that we could have marked out is going to be now our 160 break back above, potential flip back towards the upside. If we're looking at this one on the hourly time frame, you can see nice buyers stepped in right off that 150. Now we like to see the break back above. We can mark out our previous day highs in this 164. Break back above, we can see a pushback up in towards our 170 and this IPO high, which is that 176. If we reject, then we're going to see a push right back down in towards our 150 and potentially below, which is our 155 and that 150 here. So for SpaceX, we can mark out this level here now as well, and we can use this 164, and then we have our 160. So that's what we have for all the tech names coming into today. Let's take a look at some other names here now as well, which will just be some of the memory and some semiconductors. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, as I mentioned, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. All right, let's take a look at some of the semiconductors here. We'll start off with AVGO. This one is a little bit weaker. As you can see, once we had earnings drop towards the downside, last week we came up in towards the earnings low level, and we ended up having another rejection here right off that 400. AVGO is still, of course, bullish more so on the weekly time frame. We are a little bit weaker here now as well, kind of overshooting this previous level of support. We're still going to build a higher low here, so now it's most likely just going to come all the way back down in towards that 320, bounce off this level for a pushback towards the upside. If we're looking at this on the daily chart, key levels that we have marked out is the area that we broke out from, which happens to be that 360. We could see some buyers step in on AVGO right off this 360, which is currently happening, right? Previous level of resistance now turn into support, right? Potential mean reversion bounce here off that 360 for a push back up and towards that 400. So for AVGO, this is the key level that we have on the higher time frames. Now we just like to see the reclaim and a flip back above for any sort of pushback towards the upside. So we can just have this level marked out, 372. Palantir, this one recently broke outside of its consolidation that we had on the weekly time frame, and we broke outside of this range. 160 to that 130. Last week, weak candle closure outside of the range. And now we're having a bit of a bigger retracement here for Palantir. Right, key levels that we have marked out if we're on the daily time frame is our 130. So as you can see here, let's go back. Let's get rid of a couple of things here as well. 130 is going to be key. This is the area that we broke down from, as I mentioned. If we maintain underneath 130, we're going to see a push towards the downside. The flip back above, we can see a push back towards the upside. So keep in mind on Palantir, that's the key levels that we have marked out. If we're on the hourly time frame, other levels that we can have marked out is going to be our previous day highs in the area that we broke down from, which happens to be that 118. You can see multiple touches here, Palantir rejection. Now the key levels that we're going to have marked out is going to be our Monday's highs. If we want to maintain some upside, maintain above that 114 or above our previous day highs for continuation. The break underneath, we can see a push all the way back down in towards that 110 here and below. As for MU, this one's still holding up here on the higher time frames as well. Daily chart building up higher lows. That one is very key. Now what we just like to see is, right, this structure still maintained, right? You can see higher lows are being built. We're still in a very much clear uptrend. We're not in the strongest uptrend, but in a very big uptrend, just bouncing more so off this 21. As for MU key levels that we're going to have marked out, let's actually just get rid of this. After we had earnings last week, we ended up coming all the way back down in towards that earnings low and that daily gap fill here as well. So nice push all the way back down in towards our full gap fill here on MU. Now the key levels that we can have marked out is going to be, let's just mark this out. So we have our previous day lows, which is of course very far away. And now we have our previous day highs marked out as well, which is just going to be our 1140. So for MU coming into today, mark out that 1140, break back above, continuation back towards the upside, rejection, we can see a push back down in towards that 1080. SNDK, a lot of these ones are fairly similar. You can see higher lows are being built, but coming closer to that 21 on the higher time frames. As for INTC, buyers are stepping in nicely right off that 21. We're right around a key level here as well. So the daily wick, right, we kind of filled this gap towards the downside, but so far holding and defending this level. Lower wick being put in here on the daily chart. Nice strong candle close. The reclaim back above our 130 will send this back towards the upside. If we look at this one on the hourly time frame, key levels that we have marked out 118, and then of course we have that 128, which is defended more so on the higher time frame. So let's just kind of mark this out, and then other levels that we can have marked out today, previous day highs, mark this over. 130 coming into today, break back above that 130, continuation higher. If we reject, we can see a potential hold and continue back towards upside. WDC, this one right at a key technical level support. I like WDC a lot. Keep an eye on this bounce off this 600, right? Potential bounce right off that 21. Weekly chart right off a key technical level. You can see last week's candle was a pretty big weekly range, but more so on the daily chart, still holding up very nicely. Let's keep an eye on a WDC hold for a pushback towards the upside. Other names, MBIS still holding up, MRVL right at a key level support. Keep an eye on this kind of range and then bounce off the low of the range for a push back up and towards the top of the range. TSM, we had a breakout, followed up by a gap down with MU earnings, still holding up as on this daily chart. And now we're trying to reclaim here, back above that 450. Daily gap is in play back towards the upside here as well. MSTR, this one ended up bouncing, but it's just very weak, more so on the higher time frames. But yeah, with that being said, let's kind of go over the game plan coming into today, and then we will let's go into the game plan, and then I'm going to get ready for market open here. So coming into today, the key levels moving forward, at least coming to this week as well, we're cautious of potential rejections at key levels of resistance, bounces at key levels of support. Until we can break outside this range at a minimum, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious for continuation trades, or unless we have a very solid higher time frames or some sort of news event, I'm going to be a lot more cautious, and I'm going to be cautious of this potential rejection here in the market. SPY, similar thing, we are rejecting right off our daily gap fill. So for SPY, if we get back underneath that 740, that's going to confirm that we're back inside this range. If we can hold above the 740, and then of course, if we can get back above our previous day highs and into this daily gap, then we're going to lean a little bit more towards the upside. But if we reject right off the bat, within the first 10 to 15 minutes, then we're going to be a little bit more cautious. Right, similar thing. I'm leaning slightly bullish today, but that could very much change in within the first 10 to 15 minutes. Right, if SMH holds, I'm going to lean more bullish. If Qs can hold our 723, I'm going to lean more bullish. SPY, if we can just maintain above our previous day highs, then I'm going to maintain a more bullish stance here in the markets. As for the names I'm going to keep an eye out for today, we'll keep an eye out on Tesla off our really the 402 for potential move back towards the upside. AMD above our previous day highs for a push up in towards our all-time highs. As for everything else, right, we can keep an eye out on SpaceX as well above our 165 for continuation. And then the rest of the names, right, like a MU break and retest above our previous day highs, INTC, similar thing, break and retest above our previous day highs is in play. And then even WDC here as well. As for the rest of the tech names, more so in between the middle of the range. So going to be a little bit more cautious today on some of the Meg 7s. But at least for today, moving forward, similar game plan as I mentioned, right? Just keep an eye on the reaction that we have off key levels. Don't try and predict where the market wants to head. Last week, there was a lot more mean reversions ranges. So until we can clearly break back above, we're going to be a little bit more cautious. Daily chart is also more consolidating here within the past 20 to 40 sessions. So as you can see, just be a little bit more patient until we can start getting back above the 9 and 21. We can start trending and making a brand new all-time highs. Be a little bit more cautious, more so scalps and day trades, and don't try and hold for multi-day continuations or try and anticipate the breakout on the higher time frames. But yeah, that's what I have for us today. Gonna call it a day here and get ready for market open here now. So hopefully you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. I will have an update for you guys on the second channel. I haven't made one in about a week. I've been very busy the past week. Was gone on the weekend as well. So I'll have an update for you guys for the end of month recap. And then yeah, end of month today. This is the last trading day of the month, and then we will have a market holiday on Friday. So yeah, with that being said, hopefully you guys did enjoy that, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.